Welcome to HSR Motorsport. Hello and welcome indeed to the HSR Motorsport ACC GT3 Season 7 Championship. And today you join us here for round 4 at Valencia. Circuit Ricardo Tormo, 4 kilometres long and plenty of overtaking opportunities available. As per the track guide, as you can see, turn 1 is the obvious one at the end of that very long straight, about 800 metres I believe it is. Down into turn 1 as Spa is going to be the best opportunity, then turn 2 Dohun, then down into turn 4, turn 5 is also there, and Gel Nieto, just got to be careful with that, and then turn 8 is going to be a big one as well. If you can get alongside for turn 10, that's going to be an easy run down into turn 11, and then through the long left-hander of turn 13 into Curva Campos. That's going to be a last opportunity before you get to the start line. And fun little graphic done there, lovely. Oh, I do have to say, I do love the ACC TV graphics. They are very, very, very nice. At the moment, then. The format for this evening is currently underway as well. Qualifying, we have 30 minutes of it, 10 minutes for the AMs, 10 minutes for the Pro-Ams, and then 10 minutes for the Pros. Even time for all classes out on circuit tonight, and we do have a good couple drivers. It does seem to be a fairly full grid, which will make for some good action. Last week, of course, we were at Brands Hatch for round 3, and actually I was at the actual Brands Hatch circuit only a few days later, on the Wednesday thereafter. And I can tell you, the elevation changes are incredible. It also made me feel motion sickness and car sick, because I was a passenger, not an actual driver. And they said it was actually a miracle I'd managed to survive for as long as I did. I think I went for about half an hour and then I was done. Which, considering it was about 2 hours worth of driving, yeah, it was a bit of a bummer, but hey-ho, move on. Anyways, speaking of moving on, let's get to the action and see what these drivers are up to. Oh, no, wrong button. There we go. So, Leek and Stephen currently on pole position with a 1:32.5, which is not a bad time in the slightest. I've done some practice on the circuit myself for a race that I'm participating in tomorrow. However, it is on a wet circuit, so it's a completely different ball game. But dry, 1:32.5. That's a solid time for an AM. Now, Leek and Stephen, of course, is fairly high up in the championship standings. I do beg your pardon. That is my Discord. Give me 1 second. I literally thought of disabling all those sounds, and then last second it didn't happen. And yeah, now you heard a beep. Well, it's a good reminder, isn't it? Cool. Let's get this thing going then. So, well, sorry, I keep having to go between the software and everything to try and get everything. Right, so quick little summary of our AM standings for the season then, as Leek and Stephen comes across the line now to set his next lap time. It is unfortunately not an improvement at the moment as he comes across. Still a 1:32.5. Cool. Quick little standings rundown. Carl Banning starting us off on pole position, or P1 for the championship, with 39 points. And Leek and Stephen, that BMW M4 we were looking at just a bit earlier, on 36 points in P2. However, we have a three-way tie for P2 at the moment. All three drivers of Leek and Stephen, Tony Recroft and Nico Zilidis on 36 points each. It's BMW, Aston Martin and McLaren. So some good manufacturer battling going on there in the top 5. And there's a Honda, Nick Brum, in P5 with 34 points, and he's tied with John Malott in the Nissan, also 34 points. Then the rest of your top 10 are Johan Huben, David Janosch, Kasper Zawada and Freddie Davies, being on 31, 20 and 11 points respectively. So everyone at least has made some races, and there is only one driver who hasn't made any participation this season, and that is going to be Junaid Wallace, who did not start the two first races, and then the third race he didn't actually turn up either, but he did remember to sign out, which is quite nice of him. Freddie Davies and Dylan Matthews are P10 and P11 at the moment, and they do have a penalty against them. P5 and P6 in the first race though. Not bad at all. So back to the on-track action. We catch Leekens Steven just in time to come across the line, and still no improvement for him. Johan Huben though seems to have done quite well through the second sector as well, 0.2 seconds up on his best time. Now, Johan Huben is a driver that we have seen do quite well in the past. He was tying with Riley when it came to Valencia, ironically, of all places, for the Season 4 Championship, to see who would take that victory. And at the end of the day, it was Riley Pennell who did take the AM Championship victory. Johan Huben unfortunately unable to improve here, and also unable to take the championship victory back then, as he pulls over to signal the end of his qualifying session. And now the Pro-Ams head to the track. The 10 minutes allotted to the Pro-Ams have begun, or has begun. Not sure which way around it would be. I think it would be has begun. I do apologise for any grammar mistakes. It has been a long day, I will say. And the poetry will flow as well. Accidental though, I will say. A lot of it is going to be accidental. So then, your AM driver standing so far then for qualifying: Leekens Steven, P1 for the class, Nico Zieladis P2, and then you've got Johan Huben P3, Nick Brum P4, and Tony Rucroft rounding out your AM grid, rounding out your top 5 at the moment. But that will soon change with the lap times that will flow in from the Pro-Ams, who are now making their way round the circuit to begin their flying laps. And before we go any further, let's have a look at the championship standings for these guys then. On P1, Thomas Lenarta's absolute dominance so far this season. A race win in all 3 races so far, putting him on 40 points. Stein van Onneker coming in with a podium on 35 points, also tied with Arakon Sakura, also on 35 points, and a similar finish in round 2. We've then got Nicholas Mamta's P4, tied with George Vasiliadis, also on 34 points. Actually, there's another driver to tie with them, Guido Martinez in P6, also on 34 points. It's then only a 1 point difference between P6 and P7. Philip Campedix in the Ferrari on 33 points, but his drop round has already been used on a no-show, which was last week at Brands Hatch, actually. You've then got Harold the Cook, Nick Novell, and Joseph Puller rounding out your top 10, all fairly close, 26 points, 25 points, and 23 points, respectively. You've then got a couple other drivers down the grid. You've got Josh Redhead in P11, Emre Yozduru P12. You've also got Tim Newberger and Nicholas Zunn, with Craig Alford rounding out your top 15, and the last driver to actually race in, or compete in a race this season, Arda Selik and Jakub Markut, 2 Pro-Am drivers that have not showed up to any races so far. So I'd say it's safe to bet they're not going to be competing in the championship. Although it is only halfway there. We are only at round 4 of 8. Dutch Stig, welcome. Oh my goodness, you got me with that beep. Yup. Every time I hear that beep from a stream that I've done and I've forgotten to turn off my Discord notifications, I also get a heart attack, because then I think, oh my goodness, is someone talking to me, someone messaging me, emergency situation? Nope, it's all good. It's only well, it is someone messaging me, but Mramfa beep beep on the Twitch side of things. Redeemed Tokyo Drift intro. That's all I can think of when I think Tokyo Drift. I don't really know what to say about the comments. Did not work. Why are you crying? I don't get it. Meanwhile, on the YouTube side of things, Esel, welcome back, sir, as well as Craig Hewlett and Mikael Topinka. Esel saying nailing the names today as well. Well, it does help having some experience with these guys. I have commentated on a couple of these guys' races before. I'm not sure there is anyone new here today. We have got Yurovyi back in. That was the one name I did struggle to pronounce when we heard it for the first time. As well as we've also got Nibta actually in as well. It's going to be an interesting name to try and pronounce. Who else have we got in? Craig Elford, there's the usual, Filiadis, really lovely name, just rolls off the tongue. Dieringer down on P21, that pro driver, that's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye out for. That's going to be quite interesting to see. I expected the sound to play when I redeemed the Tokyo Drift, says Dutch Stig. Well, yeah, I'm not as, how do I say it, educated. I'm not as good at the Twitch side. I'm not good with any kind of streaming bots or anything like that, or setting stuff up like that. I just commentate. And even that, sometimes even that can be a bit dodgy. Nicole Topinga asking, what is better to commentate on, ACC or LMU? I'm not gonna lie, LMU might be the next thing. LMU might be the one that I actually think is good to commentate on, because this is behind the scenes info, because they built a telemetry system, a live telemetry system into the game. You go onto their website, somewhere there's some sort of link you can follow, and they have everything set up. It's literally a web page I can open on my laptop, connect and use the IP address of my main computer, and then control it from there. It's brilliant. It's got all those graphics up, really easy to use. The only thing it needs at this point is replay function. That's the only thing that frustrates me with the Ultimate at this point. ACC, all the software is amazing. It's really powerful. I haven't managed to plumb any depths. I'm not a plumber. I'm not a handyman or a craftsman at all. But yeah, I haven't managed to plumb to the depths of using ACC TV or any of those kinds of commentary assists, I guess, or could you say race control assists? I guess that's another way to put it. That's another, it's a brilliant piece of software, great to use. But yeah, it does mean there's just lots more apps running on my PC and stuff like that, which is literally the Ultimate game, web page, and then of course all the streaming stuff. So yeah, I think, I don't know, I do quite like, I like the simplicity of Lamar Ultimate. It's really simple and easy to use, whereas ACC is a little bit more to it. But all that talk about software and whatnot, Craig Hewlett also saying brilliant bit of software to use that. Yeah, absolutely. I do love it to bits. Philip Camperdix currently on pole position and P1 for the class. We've got 4 Pro-Am cars up there in the top 5. Leek and Stephen still somehow holding on to P5. George Vasiliadis exactly half a second off of pole with Josh Redhead, only 2/10 off. And Josh Redhead, he's going to be my teammate for a Valencia race tomorrow, albeit in the wet. So it's good to see my teammate is actually pulling some good weight. It's good. So that puts him on a 1:32.1. To be fair, he's actually probably faster than me. So it'll be good to see him. Him maybe help carry me over the course of the day tomorrow. Dutch Stick over on the Twitch side saying Nipta ain't that hard, right? Nipta. Okay, so it's Nipt probably. And I'd probably also say the P the B as a P a little more. So it's Nipt. Pronunciation and accents not my forte, and the fact that I keep using them and keep trying to do them, yeah, it does. Yeah, it shows I haven't learnt yet. But I have picked up. I am stuttering a lot more now, and struggling to catch a thought on my brain or say something just off the tip of my tongue. It's a really weird state of mind and a really weird way of having to communicate being a commentator, because when it's high intensity stuff, it's you gotta have no filter between your brain and your mouth. You just gotta say what comes to mind and say it as fast as possible sometimes, and sometimes say it very slowly, which I think I struggle with quite a lot. And then you get out into the real world and you find out that actually having a filter on your mouth is a little bit that's probably the best idea. It's a little dangerous to just go around saying exactly what you think, using the exact terms that you have. I mean, there's a time and place for it, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it can help having that filter between your mind and your mouth sometimes. Mramfa saying nipped E. Yeah, I have no clue. Niept. Niept. I'll just call him Niept from now on. If you guys are making sure that he needs to say separate, then fair enough. We do have a new driver that joins the top 5. Harold the Cock managed to get himself up into P4 with a 132.3. Some good stuff from the Ferrari driver. Philip Camperdix managed to improve on his time as well, get himself still in P1 with a 131.38. Some good stuff, half a second clear of Vasiliadis. Now it's whether Stijn van Onneker can respond and get a better lap time. Nicholas Mumtaz also currently out on circuit, looking to improve his position just within the top 10. Same with Joseph Puller, but no improvements on their deltas through the first sector or two so far. As the pros now take to the track, you can see that little mass of blue dots on the little track. That denotes all the pro cars now coming to the grid. Harold the Cook, yellow flag, already pulled over to the side of the road. Nicholas Mumtaz actually on an improvement as well. Stijn van Onneker having some sort of issue, and that putting him off. The number 69, who's that? That's Joseph Puller still going round. We've also got Nicholas Mumtaz now coming around the final corner for the final time in qualifying in that really lovely light colour, or a varied colour, I guess you could say, BMW, and he manages to pull himself up into P7. Joseph Puller will be the next Pro-Am to come across the line, the final Pro-Am, and he comes across still stuck in P10. It was an improvement, but unfortunately just not enough. Now, for the pros, typical we should see it in this fashion. Miguel Topenka, first one to make it out of the pit lane, with Roman Hosko hot on his heels. Our two-time ACC GT3 champion currently, so far only beaten once this season, and that was last week at Brands Hatch. He's been a utterly dominant force during his stay here with us at HSR Motorsport, and he continues his good form with 3 podiums so far and 2 race wins in 3 rounds, putting him on 40 points. And actually, speaking of, would that make a sound? Speaking of, let's get that little graphic up real quick. I know it might feel like a flashbang, it just suddenly happening, you know, just suddenly blowing up in your face. But sometimes, you know, you gotta take, you know, budget cuts and whatever. It's better than what we had before. Before we didn't have this graphic. Miguel Topenka, yes, 40 points, not far ahead of Maurice Chouinard, currently on 37 points in P2, and then Gabriel Nipt in the Bentley with 33 points. Kurt Peters not far off, only 1 point difference, and it's the same gap to Colin McNair down on P5, 31 points. He's actually tied with 2 other drivers, Samiro and Nathan Cartwright, for P6 and P7, with Roman Hosko coming in at P8. Then got 2 more drivers rounding out your top 10, Marios Tsapanidis and Waller Johnson, 29 points and 27 respectively. We've then got a few more drivers scoring some points this season. Andrzej Batek in P11, Reese Valentine P12, Leonid Yarovyi P13, I do apologise, and Adam Dutton, the last driver to actually race this season. The following 4 drivers have not managed to attend any races. That's going to be Daniel Morris, Mikael Dieringer, Craig Hewlett and Jan Vlachs. But I believe they are fixing that tonight. We have got Dieringer out on circuit tonight, Yarovyi's out there, Nipta as well. Who else have we got? I thought I saw Craig Hewlett in there as well, but I don't think he's willing to stick around. He's more on the ACC. Sorry, not ACC. He's more on the LMU side of things. Easel asking, do we bet on how many cars we finish with this time? Potentially. I mean, you will always get a couple drivers that just leave the session either because they had a massive shunt T1 lap 1 and don't want to continue and don't want to see what they can do, or you know, we'll just get the usual. Yeah, I don't know. I think we could probably safely say we're going to have about 20 drivers at least finish this race, unless something massive happens at the race start. And even then, I'm sure the league organisers would be more than willing to do a red flag, you know, just restart the entire session. And if it happens again, well, then I guess we'll just have to go back to 15-car grids, which is what we had last week at Le Mans, on the Le Mans Ultimate side of things. Craig Hewlett saying, I'm not racing, I'm live stewarding, just jumped in to prove Hosker was too slow to beat me with all his big talk. I was there when you were talking about it as well, yes. Well, I mean, this week he seems to be a little off the pace, to be honest. P6 for him. He's usually up there in the top 5. So, you know, Waller Johnson up to P4. Some good stuff from my fellow countrymen, actually right behind Roman Hosker at this point in time. And why do I have that still up? We are racing. Here we go. We've also got then Tim Miro in P9, Cartwright P10 with Deeringer, P11 in the Aston Martin of all vehicles. Last time he was driving a Ratiga, which is basically a how do you say it? Chinese version? No, I don't know what manufacturer it is. Probably still Italian, but it's kind of like a copy of the Lamborghini. And apparently he does race that in real life as well. Last time I checked. That might be old information then. He has raced it in the past. Anyways, the driver did not manage to actually set any laps during qualifying. It's Craig Alford and John Malott in P22 and P23 for the AM and the Pro-Am class respectively. Ramfa saying nipped E and then saying and now fast. So it's nipped E and now fast. Gotcha. So nipped E and now fast, currently 4/10 of Topinka's time. That's going to be a 1:31.1. Topinka in the sub 31s, which is absolutely rapid. Dustig saying that's the first time I hear that variant. Yeah, I suppose there's all sorts of ways to say it. Currently nipped not really on an improvement for his lap. He is Dutch as we see him go sideways out of turn number 6, out of Angel Nieto. And corner names, that's going to be another thing to pronounce. It's going to be another fun thing. So turn 1 Aspar, that's fairly easily pronounced. How we say that in a Spanish way though, I have no clue. Aspar. All I know is Valencia is usually, that C turns into a TH. Spanish people suddenly develop a lisp when they say, when they pronounce the letter S or C. I have no clue about the Spanish language. I'm learning Portuguese, which is fairly similar, but it's not the same. Leonid Yorovyi, a Ukrainian driver who actually, I think he debuted with us just last race over at Brands Hatch. You need to remember it wasn't last week, it was 2 weeks ago. Ramfa saying at least you say it right when he spins. Nipta. Or Nipta. It sounds like Ramfa knows what he's talking about. Anyways, Yurovi on his final lap livery. This is the guy that turned up as an AM and claimed to have had no experience sim racing. It's his first league race, first race on ACC, and he just casually smashed out P4 in the AM class. So, you know, everyone thought it was a bit more appropriate to put him up in the pro class. I still have no confirmation as to whether he was a real-life racing driver yet. I still have no info on that. Maybe Craig Hewlett can help me out here, or whoever has any information on this guy, because he just rocked up last week and then just smashed it. Nathan Cartwright was the driver that we saw victimized, I believe, at the hands of a certain Mr. Peters a couple of weeks ago. And actually we did see Peters absolutely destroy someone as well. The name slips my mind right now. I would rewatch it just before, but yeah, haven't had time today. It's been a busy one. He's saying he was not. He doesn't have driving license. Lol. How does Yurovi do it? He must have at least, you know, some sort of sim racing setups. There's got to be some sort of there's got to be some miscommunication here somewhere. Like, yeah, that's very suspicious. Roman Hosker managing to make it up into P3, up into those podium finishing positions, within half a tenth of Topinka in his BMW right now. Yeah, sector times not really looking interesting for anyone except for Nathan Cartwright now making his way round to the final corner. 1.5 seconds off of Topinka with 40 seconds left in the session. Across the line, what can he do as a penultimate lap time? Or has he run out of fuel and he'll need to come back in? I don't know. He does improve his time though, up into the top 10, up to P9 in fact, with a 132.1. We will have some Pro-Am start in the Pro class, essentially. Campodix up in P4, still with George Vasiliadis, P2 for his class, in P8 overall. We do have some drivers coming in saying it's the end of their qualifying. Miro saying P7 at most is the best he can do tonight. Dieringer, P10 for him. Yeah, not bad, mate. First time back after a while. Used to race with us back in season 3, I think it was, a really long time ago. Anyways, Gabriel Nibta currently still 0.3 off of Topinka's time, and his 2 sector times have looked good. He's currently on a 0.2 second delta improvement on his lap time. Will now come across the timing board. Mikael Topinka setting one final lap time, is it? Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, Topinka still flying as well. It is the end of qualifying. These drivers just need to come across the line to finish it. Craig Hewlett saying, told me he's a complete am, in reference to Yarovi earlier. Here we go though. Gabriel Nipt round the final corner. Does he duck into the pits? And does he think he has a shot at a better lap time? Across the line he comes. No improvement for him yet. Roman Hosko on improvement. Yarovi just behind as well. Just comes across the line. Waller Johnson going to be one of the final drivers. Roman Hosko also comes across the line now. He improves up to P2, so some good final lap running from the BMW. Waller Johnson will be the final driver to come across the line to end our qualifying session overall and for the Pro class. 0.7 off of P1, off of pole position across the line, and he goes up to P6. Lovely stuff. And now we wait for the race start. Join us in just a few moments and we'll get everything sorted. Grab yourself a drink, grab yourself a snack. This is going to be epic. Hello and welcome back to the HSR Motorsport GT3 ACC Season 7 Championship, and today you join us for round 4 here at Valencia, and I will need to speedrun this little grid rundown as we look at our challenges for tonight's race. Mikael Topinka lines up on pole position with Roman Hosko alongside. Gabriel Nibta rounding out your top 3 for this little group of pro drivers. Philip Campodix, P1 in the Ferrari. Good stuff from the 573 for pro class. P1 for him, but P4 overall. Yarovi, the AM driver from last week, now lines up in P5 alongside Waller Johnson in the pro class for P6. Tim Miro, P7 with another Rogue Pro-Am driver, George Vasiliadis, the number 29 in P8. Nathan Cartwright and Michael Dieringer. I swear, no, it's Mikhail. Do correct me on that as well. Mikhail Dieringer, P10, rounding out the Pro Grid. We've then got Josh Redhead starting just outside the top 10, with Harold de Kock alongside in the Ferrari. Stijn van Onneker rounding out that little grouping of Pro-Ams. Lincoln Stephen, also driving for DSRT, is on P14 with Nicholas Momtas in P15, right alongside his teammate Nico Zilidis in a similar liveried car. I believe it's the same thing. Aragon Sakura is in P17 with Joseph Puller alongside. Again, a little duo of Pro-Ams with a big group of AMs now in Huben, Nick Brum, Tony Recroft and John Malott. Lovely, lovely HSR Nismo loadout, or livery, shall we say. That's probably the more efficient term. As Craig Elfer joined us at the back of the grid, rounding out the entire grid and the Pro-Am grid as well. And the race is just about to get started. We got that done just in time. Kurt Peters here to support the DSRT boys. He says, let's go DSRTs, and commented on the YouTube side of things saying, Hosco slow if even I can beat his time at Craig Hewlett. Yeah, alright. We know you're fast. Alright. I can just about get a 131.7, and that's on a lot of fuel, so actually might be able to improve my time slightly. I don't know. Here we go though. Noah's Ark formation. We're back at Valencia for the third time, and it is go time. 23 cars go roaring down to turn 1 to start an hour of racing, and it's been a good start from Topinka. Right out to the outside. Nipta on the inside though. Makes an easy position. Double overtake for the race lead though. Hosco. There is utter chaos now. Carnage in the midfield. I see Camperdix, I see Johnson, and now we've got this battle for the race lead still going to Pinker and Nipta alongside. Nipta seemed to have made that position, but then on the exit he did lose traction and lost out to Pinker. We need to have a look back at that race start, because that was utter carnage, and there is now also still utter carnage from the rest of the grid. Let's have a look back at this replay. So here we go. This is what the start looks like. We've got everyone still in their Noah's Ark formations. Not noticing anything abnormal so far. We need to take this from the heli cam, and we actually need to see this also from Hosco's position, because he had a terrible start. If he's still in the race so far. So moves over to the centre. Gabriel Nipta, brilliant start, already over to the centre of the racetrack, already alongside, under braking, pulls ahead, and it's a touch from the rear, Camperdix, and then, yeah, everything just kind of escalates from there. And was that him not holding his brakes? Yeah, suspicious. Anyway, we go right back to the action. Mikael Topinka still in the race lead, and we have just come to the end of our first lap. Gabriel Nipta giving it his all on the first lap, unfortunately unable to make his way past. And there is also some action going on further back. Harold de Kock going wide on the final corner. We've got some mid-pack action going on here for P10. We've got Puller, Stijn van Onneker, Sakura, Huben and de Kock all vying for P10. It is Ferrari of de Kock now under threat from Brum, the Honda, down the inside into turn 1. Flawed exit through the corner for the 292. Will the Honda get a run down into the hairpin? Not this time round. We'll have to wait and see how that battle pans out in time. Nathan Cartwright, Ferrari, making the most of all the opportunities he's had so far, up into P4, while Tim Miro actually got past him as well in just a couple corners ago, actually. Nathan Cartwright currently in P5 then, with 3 Pro-Am drivers behind him. George Vasiliadis, leading the way in P1 with Redhead P2 and Nicholas Mumsas P3, your top 3 for the Pro-Ams. Mikael Topinka, Nipta and Yarovyi, your top 3 for the Pros. Hosco already straight down to P last in the class, number 20 on the grid at the moment. And the number 25 is having some issues. That's Lincoln Stephen, who's dropping down the order. What's happened to him? He's off into the gravel. Can we get a replay on this? So here we go. There's Camperdix on the inside. Is it a friendly tap from Ferrari on the rear quarter panel? No, it isn't. Actually, it's fairly safe through there. Roman Hosco menacingly in the background. Another BMW there. Here we go, down into turn number 8. Oh, actually, it was Hosco from behind. Just rear ends him. I suppose it's the difference between an AM driver and a pro driver. Of course, the AM driver is having to brake maybe a little earlier because they're maybe not as solid on their braking points. There could be a variety of reasons. But as a pro driver, you need to anticipate that. You need to know that's going to happen. John Malott, oh my goodness, all sorts of things happening here. John Malott in the middle of it all. He's got Wooler Johnson now coming through on him. P16 punted out the way. There's John Malott, and here's Nick Broom as well. Woo! All sorts of things happening. Broom around the outside of Malott now through turn 4 we go. Through Tyrrell, out into the gravel. Oh my goodness, and Broom's almost into the wall. Malott just punted him out the way as well. Camperdex, 5-second time penalty, I'm assuming, for the collision with Hosco. We did hear Craig Hewlett is our live steward for tonight, and we've got a massive battle up here right ahead of us. Philip Camperdex are involved right up there. H. de Kock as well. Huben also there. Johnson also involved. Camperdex managing to smoothly take a couple positions away from these DSRT cars. Same for Wooler Johnson, actually, who's just managed to make the position on Huben in the Lexus. Good stuff from these guys. At least I think it is Huben. Huben struggling in the AM class. Well, I say struggling. He's actually doing all right. P1 for him at the moment. John Malott in P2. Malott isn't actually too far back either, but we've got some carnage down here. Final corner. It's actually wherever you look. We've got Dieringer in the Aston Martin. Redhead has just lost out a couple positions. We've got plenty of action happening here. We've got Joseph Puller ahead as well. We've got Gabriel Nitze. No, that's Yarovier also in the background. We've got Redhead. We've got Stein von Uneker. We've got, who is that? That's going to be Mumtaz also. Mumtaz now down the inside. Dieringer still holding on to that position. Oh my goodness, there's contact between them. Woo! Dieringer just about manages to stay out of trouble there, but Stein von Uneker, I'm sure, will have something. He'll have something from the stewards. Puller maybe slightly wide. Mumtaz takes the move down the inside. Is given enough space, but not on the exit. Redhead also getting out of the way of the Bentley. Two battles going on simultaneously here. Through the left-hander we go. Redhead push to the outside, force out onto the outside. Yarovier also there. Oh my goodness, 5 cars all battling. That brings Sakura into this battle as well. There goes Stein von Uneker, and he takes out the BMW as well. 2 cars erased from this battle, and Nicholas Mumtaz left with the pieces, left up in P6. He says, thank you very much. I'll just take those positions for free. Yarovier still finding his way through this grid of Pro-Ams. He had 5 of them to go through. Now he only has 3 of them, including Redhead and Mumtaz just ahead. He'll hopefully be able to make some progress through these guys soon, so he can start working on the gap to Cartwright, the 627 currently in P4. Redhead to the outside. Nicholas Mumtaz also still leaving a gap for the Honda down the inside. Redhead's line was compromised, so this is Sakura's opportunity to also make a move, maybe down into turn 1. Meanwhile, we've still got Puller, Johnson, and a couple other guys right behind as well as we now head into turn 1. Everyone's still fairly neat and tidy. Sakura takes a look in the background as well. We'll have to get the helicam on this. Puller, maybe a run down into turn 2, maybe into the hairpin. This could be his move. He thinks so. Dives to the apex. He's alongside by the time they get to it. Lovely move. In the meanwhile, Dieringer in the background defending from the Ferrari of Cartwright. No, sorry, that's Camperdex, who's now down the inside into turn 4. Camperdex is more than willing to fight for that position, and he is allowed to, even though they're in a different class. Dieringer, I'm sure, just frustrated with all these guys trying to fight for track position instead of class position. Same for Stein von Uneker now round the outside. Meanwhile, up ahead, Leonid Yarovier managed to make his way through that pack fairly well. He's managed to get ahead of Redhead, but now there's a battle behind him as well as Joseph Puller goes down the inside of Sakura and goes wide once more. We've seen him off into the gravel a couple of times before. Redhead just kind of not really fighting Yarovier too hard, I imagine, because he is in a different class. Camperdex, though, looking to make some good progress here through his fellow Pro-Am driver. Sakura under threat here through the right-hander. That is not going to be a lovely spot to go through in that tight little kink through to the right-hand side. Everyone keeping it fairly neat and tidy on those curbs. Some good stuff there. And meanwhile, battles for the lead up at the top. not really happening. Everyone kind of settling into a pace. But here mid-pack, that's where all the action is right now. We've also got a couple things happening further down. Craig Elford on Tony Rucroft for P19. That's another battle to keep an eye on as well. Leonid Yurovi then in the best position at the moment to make an overtake on Nicholas Mumtaz. But Mumtaz also doesn't want to hand over that position, because that is going to be a pro driver between himself and the current race leader in the class, George Vasiliadis, the number 29, currently P5 overall, but the race leader for the Pro-Ams. The gaps then seem to have opened up slightly between these guys, have maybe gotten into a good kind of spacing, good rhythm, and the penalties have come in thick and fast. We've now got a 10-second time penalty for Camperdix in the Ferrari in the background, the 573, the cause of the turn 1 lap 1 disaster. Meanwhile, Yurovyi looking to make use of turn 7 and turn 8. Into the left hand we go. Good stuff from him just later on the brakes. Nicholas Mumtaz, not really too much he could do. He just kept his racing line, tried to keep his momentum, and he's done very well to allow that pro through. But now he's got to worry about Josh Redhead, who's right up behind him. Nicholas Mumtaz still on the rear end of that Honda, though he's not just going to let him get away. Philip Camperdix, though, he's done amazing to make up a couple positions here in the mid-pack. He's really made use of all the chaos. Hopefully he doesn't get any more penalties, because he is currently charged with the murder of about 2 to 3 drivers. We've had Kurt Peters, direct murder of 2. He's been linked to, well, I should say Camperdix has been linked to 3 confirmed kills this race as well. So, you know, whether it was manslaughter, whether it was actual murder, I have no clue. Meanwhile, actually, George Vasiliadis is right up on the rear end of Nathan Cartwright in P4. Oh, my goodness. Oh, Camperdix right up on the rear end of Sakura. Just about managed to keep it clean. Joseph Pullard past Dieringer is going to have the momentum down to turn 2. Roman Hosko in the background making some moves. He's made that move up into P number... Can't quite find him. I can't find him. That is much further down. He has actually already been lapped. That's why I couldn't find him. Yikes. So Hosko, yeah, he's going to have to unlap all of these drivers if he wants to actually make a position. And this battle here between Pullard and Camperdix for P5 in class is going to be an entertaining one. Ferrari versus BMW. Camperdix with a 10-second time penalty. That will kick in during the pit stop phase, so he'll have to stop for an extra 10 seconds. Oh, but Pullard's gone wide. This is Camperdix's opportunity. Not quite into the gravel, but Pullard, yeah, there's nothing really he could have done. Outbraked himself. Unfortunate circumstances. Now, the question is, how will Hosko get through this pack? Because we know when you're unlapping yourself, you need to show that you're faster than the car ahead, obviously. You can't just start fighting with guys ahead. Oh my goodness, Joseph Pullard there in the foreground, also going off again. Ah, dear. Maybe the pressure already getting to Pullard. Maybe he's had something happen to his car, the number 69. Still saying, I'm still warranted this position. I'm still, you know, this is blue flag racing. You can't just take that position away from me, Hosko. Hosko begs to differ. He's still racing as hard as he can. This is a pro that qualified in P2. So I'm not sure Pullard knows that, but, you know, I don't think he cares. He's, as far as he knows, he's a back marker, and he shouldn't be interfering in his race right now. He is interfering very hard, though. A knock to the rear end. Oh, my goodness, and Waller Johnson says, oh, well. Anyways. let's forget that fight. You know, I'll just take you all out. Yikes. Okay, let's have a look at that again, because that was nuts. 30 seconds back. So Waller Johnson, where is he? He's a ways further back. So this is him right now. Contact between the two BMWs comes in, and this goes boom. We bowling, baby. Also managed to take out Stefan Honecker of the Bentley as well. Yikes. And then, oh my goodness. Utter carnage. And just no concept of spatial awareness in Waller Johnson's head at that point in time. It was the red mist, even though he was driving a blue car, it was the red mist, and he did not see any of the other cars coming by. Ay, how could you get that so wrong? Yikes. Mirrors are there for a reason. I mean, I guess, you know, it is also up to the cars overtaking and slowing down in the yellow flags, but ay. That is not. That's not how it works, boys. That is scary. I want to see that again. Can we see that again? So Sakura, this is a different incident. A little further up the grid. Camperdick's right up behind. This is that age-or battle we saw earlier. Camperdick's trying to make some ground onto the Aston Martin. It says there was an accident here. Oh, was it there? Yes, it was. There was the touch. Very, very lucky that didn't escalate into something worse. Very, very lucky there. That could have been very, very bad. Okay, but the number 99, we need to see that contact again. No, it's the same thing. Literally, things are coming. Oh my goodness, there seems to have been something massive going down. Oh yeah, something massive happening here. Josh Redhead, Philip Camperdick, Joseph Puller, and Johan Human all in there. Something's happening live on track, and we're stuck in a replay. That's the only thing I wish could have changed. Yikes! So some massive accident happened here. Okay, let's see what's happened here. So there's Cartwright. This is Vasiliadis. This is actually a little further up. Good move down the inside. He's there. Turns in. The 627 gives him some decent space on the exit. Still side by side. I don't see how this was classed as an accident. This is still fairly good racing. Contact there though. So okay, could understand that now. And then into that left-hander. Yeah, there's nothing Cartwright could have done. That position was his. Cool. The number 627. No, that's the same contact. Oh yeah, it was 573, wasn't it? That had the issue. Philip Camperdick's. Yeah. I'm sure Camperdick is going to be having a couple things come his way. This is that look up between Cartwright and Vasiliadis again. Harmless little tap between them. That was enough to secure the position. Okay, this should be the right one now. Okay, here we go. So Camperdick, he did get past Sakura into the left-hander then. Through the start of the lap. Right up behind Redhead. And there was some sort of chaos here. I'm sure Sakura was involved. Right up on his rear end. Just taps him out. And in comes Sakura. Just about manages to keep it out the side of him. Dieringer there, and I think actually, yeah, I think Cartwright, no sorry, Camperdick is actually retired from the session. So, yeah, the contact there, that was enough for him. He was like, nope, I'm out. Maybe the penalties got too much. Craig Hewlett was ready to line him up with a stop and go 30, and he just said, no thanks, I'll just leave. And as a result, he is no longer on the standings board. Nicholas Montes stands out with a 10-second time penalty in P7. I'm sure our head steward will be able to enlighten us as to why. Although to be fair, yeah, there was some heavy racing going on up there towards the start of the race. So, you know, probably not too much of a shock. Waller Johnson, a stop and go 10, I'm assuming, for his bowling in the alley. That is turn 2 of Valencia Circuit Ricardo Tormo, turn 2 called Duhan. Yeah, considering the speed at which he went in there, that actually seems to be a fairly adequate name. He saw, yeah, plenty of skulls and murder lol. And also laughing out there on the YouTube side of things. Revup, who is going to be Hosco, saying some people should go back to tutorial, not going to lie. Yes and no. Hosco also saying 10 seconds for lap 1 incident is biggest clown move by steward. Wow. Yeah. No comment. I am supposed to be on neither side. But when you are in those close situations, you know, it is advised to brake a little earlier. Does sometimes also help if you give a little tap on the brakes just before you start braking full, so the car behind you knows, oh shoot, he's going to start braking, and then he'll start braking. There we go. You know, you've got a whole train starting to brake earlier. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to. That was, you know, in the moment. You know, that's the call by the steward, so we'll just take it. Hosky saying, hope someone's going to read their own rules. Yeah, I wouldn't get involved in that. I wouldn't get involved in that. We'll leave the decisions up to the steward at this point in time, and if they overturn anything, then, you know, that's up to them. In the meantime, we see Josh Redhead move past Human after a wide run from the Lexus driver, still in the race lead of his own class, but now he's got no security between himself and his fellow drivers. I'm assuming, Hosco, yeah, you've retired from the race as well. He's also saying, commentator trying to stay politically correct. Yeah, there's I don't know, some commentators like being really absolute, and actually I do struggle with being being quite absolute on my on the way that I say stuff and the way my stances and stuff. So actually it might be worth saying, actually, 10 seconds, yeah, it should have been worse. 10 seconds could have been worse. Could have been maybe, I don't know. Drive-through does seem a bit excessive though. Yeah, because he tapped you, and then he tapped Tosca, and then something, it went worse from there. It wasn't exactly Kamperdik's fault that everything then got. Yeah, you see it once, and then you make one conclusion. So I'll need to see the replay. I've had that incident before where I've seen something, I think something's gone wrong, and oh my goodness, something has gone wrong for John Malott in that Nismo down the inside into turn 8, and on the braking, when you get on the brakes and you turn, hey, actually you get a lot of braking, you get a lot of the weight on the front wheels, get a lot of grip on the front end all of a sudden, and then you find yourself spinning. John Malott, unfortunately, a victim of oversteer on the brakes into turn 8. Oh my goodness, boys, do keep this chat into well, I don't know, the chat is quite nice to see. It's nice to see a good it's nice to see how do I say it? A chat about this is cool. Discussing it is great, but fighting about it, not great. If you guys are going to start throwing insults or whatnot, or throwing hands, then yeah. But you can do that on private chat, and by the sound of it, you guys have already had a private Discord group made up for that kind of stuff. So we'll leave it there. Anyways, Leek Stephen back to the action, trying to make some moves on Tony Rucroft for P4 in his class, currently P16 and P17 overall, right down at the bottom. I can't help but notice Johnson, the lone pro driver that is willing to continue hashing it out, even though he did have a stop-and-go 10 of all penalties. Hefty penalty, puts him dead last. He had some issues, but he's still racing. Good stuff from the South African. Good stuff, mate. Yep, he's recognised. Cool. I made a mistake. I'll take the penalties, but I'm still racing. It's those guys right at the bottom of the grid who I actually admire for continuing their race. Nico Zilidis having some sort of issue in the McLaren, the number 67 currently down in P18. Craig Elford doesn't seem to be able to get up to speed tonight. The number 12 still down in P19. Yikes, some stuff being said in the chat, so I actually need to scroll up to see what it says. Craig Hewlett saying lap 1 incident is a auto 10-second penalty, no rules to learn, buddy. Rebel saying yes, after getting taken out by Puller, pushed off track, put on grass and rear-ended. Hewlett, and you did. Also, I get 10 seconds for someone that put neutral mid-corner, or seems like, and someone that don't give a frick T1. Also 10 seconds when lap 1 incident should be penalised harsher. Yeah, I'm not going to get involved in that. He's meanwhile just eating his popcorn. He's like, this is good stuff. Sometimes fights can be entertaining. Sometimes it can be really quite cool. Leek and Stephen then, still same position that we find him in exactly a lap ago on the rear end of the number 27. The BMW are going to be making a move for sure at some point. Currently in the championship standings, Leekens in P2. He does need to make sure he's counting every single point in the championship, because it's going to properly start mattering. It always matters, but it does start looming large towards the final half of the season with 4 races to go. Leek and Stephen currently 3 points off of Carl Banny, who isn't here tonight. So actually, this is a good opportunity for Stephen to make some ground on him. The fact that he can score points and the fact that Carl Barney is not scoring any points tonight should work quite well in his favour. We've got a battle up here in the mid-pack. Joseph Puller and Josh Redhead, the 69 and the 9, going head-to-head. 2 German machines, the BMW and the Mercedes, now hammering it down the main straight. Redhead straight into the slipstream, just outside the top 10. This is a battle for P4 in Class P10 overall. Puller still ahead of the Mercedes as they go into turn 1. It's going to be turn 2 that's going to matter, though. Whether Redhead can get there by the time Puller gets there is going to be a different question. Malott and Brum swapping positions. Oh my goodness, all sorts of stuff here. Some good action here. Nick Brum to the inside of the Nissan. And I'm actually surprised. Okay, so Brum did fall behind the Nissan, and now I've got Harold de Kock also getting in there. The Pro-Am trying to make his way through this little gaggle of AMs fighting, but at the end of the day he decides, I'm going to hang back a little bit, just give these guys some space, and then they can just do their thing, and I'll just pick up the pieces afterwards. So yeah, some good racing here in the mid to low pack. Currently P2 on the line here, actually. Brum taking that position with relative ease from Malott, but I'm sure we'll see this battle escalate once more as the race progresses. Josh Redhead once again right up on the rear end of Joseph Puller for P number 4. Once again through this little right-hander King Leonid Yarovyi, also a gap to keep an eye on for P5 overall. Currently 3/10 off of Vasiliad. No, is it? No, Yarovyi on Cartwright. So the 67 seems to be struggling slightly on the pace side of things tonight here at Valencia. Nick Brum still right up on the rear end of John Malott as well. Let's see what Yarovyi's situation is, what it looks like for him. This is what the gap looks like, 0.3 seconds between these two. Yarovyi last week, absolutely rapid, but it was a relatively quiet track for him. He just had open space to breathe, and he's had some space to breathe tonight, and he's now caught up to the rear end of Cartwright, who earlier did get overtaken by George Vasiliadis, though, in the number 29. So, you know, at the end of the day, stuff happened there, and stuff's happening here as well. Joseph Puller on the proper defence through turn 4, parking it right on the apex. Redhead forced to go the very long way around, and it does give him enough space on the exit of turn 5 as well. And Johan Huben also going to get involved here. The championship, sorry, not the championship leader, he's currently P7. The race leader for the AM class, currently just trying to keep it clean. If anything were to happen here, then, you know, things have gone wrong and he might lose the race lead. Nathan Cartwright and Yarovyi, though, we catch him just in time for turn 14, slightly wider through there for the Ferrari, but on the exit it is the Honda who's had a lovely drive through there, and on the power they're still neck in neck, powering it down the main straight. 0.1 seconds between them, though. Nathan Cartwright has to concede that position and pull into the slipstream. Takes a look towards the inside in turn 1, but that wasn't really going to work. Yarovyi's got a mind of steel, and he just holds on to that position. Yarovyi making it up into P4 for his class P5 overall. Meanwhile, Josh Redhead and Puller still having this amazing battle for P4 in the class and P10 overall. Into turn 1, they go slightly wider line for Josh Redhead. Is it going to be a cutback for him into the hairpin? It does look like it. He is alongside, under braking. He is a little earlier though. Puller straight on. He did outbrake himself. They're going to be a side-by-side once again into turn 4. We saw the very stout defense from the BMW earlier, but the Mercedes does decide to hang back slightly. He does have Johan Huben behind, threatening to come down the inside as well. So he's keeping that in mind too. You did think he might come down that time, but fortunately nothing happened there, and this battle is ongoing. In the meantime, Nick Brum and Leeken Steven are having a go at each other now. Once again, Malott and Brum swapped positions earlier, and Leeken Steven actually managed to get past. Leeken Steven now up into a podium position. This is good stuff. What's happened here? Was there an accident, or was this just good clean racing? It does seem as though there was some contact. The 85 had an accident or something, it says, apparently. In the meantime, Rucroft trying to fend off de Kock, but yeah, there's nothing you can do against Pro-Am really, and the Ferrari of all cars on this circuit. A lot of middle speed, high speed corners. That gives the Ferrari a definite edge in terms of where it maximizes its pace, which is going to be aerodynamics. It's going to be downforce, stuff like that, quite aero heavy. Let's have a look at that replay. Let's see if we can find out what happened to John Malott and Nick Brum, and the fact that Stevens managed to get ahead, and the fact that Rucroft is now looking for a way past the number 27 coming up on the rear end of that Honda. Now looking at the timer as well, I can see Johan Huben pulls into the pits. We do have that part of the race where pit stops will start happening. There is, so that's Malott also into the pits. Meantime, we've still got this battle between Rucroft and Nick Brum going here for P3 at the moment, but it will of course turn into P4 later, because of course you know, we've had Lakin Stephen ahead, we have Hooven, we have John Malott and all that gang still ahead, but of course, you know, with all the pit stops and stuff, it does start playing a role in that as well. Now, it's weird because on my telemetry it says Nicolas Ziludis is P1. Yeah, my software's just taking a massive tumble. It's really weird. Nicolas Ziludis currently P19, P last with a 10-second time penalty. Not sure when that occurred. Anyways, Roocroft down the inside of Broom now through turn 7 through that kink. They didn't collide there, but they do collide at turn 8, and it's a familiar position for Nick Broom, sliding through turn 8, almost perpendicular to the direction of travel. And yeah, here we go. I'm seeing all sorts of comments disappear and stuff on the YouTube side of things. I'm assuming that's for the incidents and aggressive talk and the popcorn moment that we had earlier. Actually, having to say Hosco chill at some points. This battle between Redhead and Puller, though, still ravaging here. It kind of subsides a little and then comes back, and a little out of shape for the BMW ahead through here again. It's going to be very similar. Rumfa, yes, these incidents have been very popcorn worthy indeed, and it seems to be the same thing every time we come to Valencia. There's always some sort of popcorn worthy incident. Harold the Cook running behind Nick Broom as well for P15 at the moment. That's going to be a battle to keep an eye on, but something that's even bigger to keep an eye on, though, is Nicholas Momtaz and Deeringer, who just swapped positions. Let's see how they got past here, because that's an interesting spot on the track. Deeringer in the Aston Martin behind then, Momtaz in the BMW ahead through into turn 7, turn 8. Again, some good braking from Deeringer, slightly wider line from Momtaz, and Deeringer says, well, I'll just take that, thank you very much. Are they side by side, though? No. Yeah, through this corner, I guess it just looked different from the first time. Easy position for Deeringer. Nick Broom and Tony Roocroft again. Every time we cut away from these guys, something happens here. We still need to know what happened between John Malott and Nick Broom earlier, as on the exit, Tony Roocroft and the number 8 are side by side into this right-hander kink. Is going to look very interesting. Who's going to be out into the gravel? Very heavy braking there, and in the meantime, HSR just says, okay, well, you guys do that, and I'll just try and come round the outside of you guys then. It's turn 14. He's made that move stick on Roocroft, under braking though, all the way around the outside of Broom. No, not quite on the straight. He is interfering in this battle, but, you know, at the end of the day, it is a battle for track position, not exactly, you know, class position for the Cook yet, but he has managed to make his way ahead of one back marker. We can see in the background there, Johnson making way for our race leader, Mikael Topinka in P1 at the moment. And yeah, we do have this battle kicking off between the Cook and Broom. It is track position, overall position at stake here. Cook trying to make some headway on these two amps, but he can't quite do it. He's going to be stuck behind them for quite a while, trying to make his way up into P12 at least, so he can start working on Redhead and his fellow Pro-Am drivers. At the moment, not quite managing it. Josh Redhead again, right up behind Puller, but nothing happening here. Mistakes made from the BMW and the Mercedes. A little glance into that right-hander, I guess, kink, you could say, and maybe just a little psychological trick to make him think he was mad enough to go down the inside. 10-14, there's definitely an opportunity though, so I can understand that being the case there. Oh, Puller under pressure, gone wide. Is he going to be able to stay ahead? Nope, he does come straight back into the slipstream though. Good use of the car ahead. Nicholas Momtaz still his 10-second time penalty. Same for Nick Ziludis in P17, overall P4 for his class. This is a good battle though for P4 in the Pro-Am class, and it does seem as though Redhead has managed to make that move stick for the first time in a really long time. So now he just needs to keep it clean, and then he won't be driven off the track or get overtaken by Puller in the BMW behind. Tony Roocroft in the meantime still in a massive battle with Nick Broom and Harold the Cook. I'm sure the gloves are off now from the Ferrari behind. The 292 may be a little annoyed with these two ahead and the fact that they're slowing him up so much, and I think all of them have succumbed to that turn 1 track limits warning, I guess you could say. All three of them wide through there. Ferrari on the inside, looking to the inside for turn 3. Not a very popular overtaking opportunity there. Turn 4, everyone's still kind of fairly fine, but now it's going to be interesting to see how the Porsche behind influences their actions and how they race. Will they just suddenly all pull over? You know, will we see a juggle around of positions? Will we see Leclerc finally manage to make some moves on these guys? Double overtake on the AMs during this time? Or could we just see them stay the same? That's probably going to be the case, but you keep your hopes up. How Leclerc, he's wanting a way past these guys so he can start working up to Puller. Tamira, after his pit stop, up behind Puller. Which is interesting, but he's a whole 10 seconds behind that battle, that thing that we saw earlier. He's all saying, "Oop, what happened to Miro? He had his pit stop." I saw that as well. I was like, "Oh no, what's happened?" And it was just a pit stop. So nothing to worry about there. It's going to be on fresh tyres, fresh fuel, and I'm not actually sure on what the requirements are tonight. It's no mandatory pit stop, so it's up to drivers themselves to determine whether they want to go for a pit stop or not. And Tamira was one of the drivers to then take that. Nico Zilidis was a similar thing. Here we go, Rucroft wide at turn 1. That's a lot of momentum from the cock, though. Will he be able to drive it deep into turn 2? The window's still there. The window's still there. Rucroft did think it was going to come up the inside, but nothing happened there. So yeah, Easel, just a load of pit stops. That was Miro's pit stop. Another driver that stopped was Huben and Malotz. Those two drivers, I know. Zilidis, I think, had a pit stop as well. I'm not quite sure though. Willett Johnson actually making some good progress through this field. He's gone past the cock as well, despite his stop and go 10 from earlier on. And you've also got a Bentley in the background. That's going to be Nipta in the Bentley, who is P2 at the moment and chasing that pink Porsche ahead. We've still got a battle going on between Redhead and Puller, though, a little further up the grid in the mid-pack, which can be quite entertaining to watch. But we shall try and figure out what happened early to John Malott and these guys further down. Puller also into the pits for his drive-through. That was probably for track limits. This is a circuit where using as much of the circuit as possible, you're getting out onto those curbs, pushing your car to the white line is very advantageous, and the drivers that can manage to do so lap after lap without getting any track cuts are the guys that are the fastest around here. Let's have a look then at this accident that was quite a while ago. So this is that battle between Brum and Malott from earlier, kicking off once again into turn 14, a little wide out of the curb, keeps the momentum going. Actually, it was Malott who had a lovely run through there, and Brum tricky there, and oh my goodness, look at this, perfect racing, a little nudge on the side, nothing malicious there, literally just trying to squeeze. Oh my goodness, we see Johnson hit the wall. Ay, what has happened there? Rucroft a little annoyed with the pro. Now he's got a Ferrari right up behind him. What happened there? In that moment, all we see is just this blue McLaren flying into the wall at the end of turn 2. 30 seconds back we go. Here we go, Rucroft, wide turn 1, Nipta comes past, Johnson looks to the inside, comes across and actually, tags himself straight into the wall. Hefty damage to the front end of his McLaren, and I think that is going to be a retirement from the South African. I'm not sure he's going to make that, I'm not sure he's going to finish that. He's currently in the pits to repair that damage if he can. If he can keep racing, cool, but yikes. Yeah, Easel, you got it. Going from nothing malicious to instantly switching into a guy flying into a wall. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a malicious. I would say that was just misjudgment of distance. Again, spatial awareness. Not. I think Waller Johnson's maybe struggling with spatial awareness tonight. First off, I mean, it wasn't his fault. He was involved in the turn 1 lap 1 incident, but it certainly was his fault when he went bowling down at turn 2 Doohan into Hosco and a couple other drivers. And then, yeah, again, just cuts across the nose of Rucroft. Rucroft, he was existing there, and he can't just turn across the nose of another car. Yes, I know you want to open up the corner as much as you can, but that's why you do it ever so gradually. And, that's what we saw so perfectly between Brum and Malott, just, in that replay earlier. It was just those small movements, gentle, just they were more significantly alongside, so that there wasn't the chance of accidentally running them over your nose. But you got to be aware of that as well. You got to make sure your car's completely over. I'm just looking at the exit of turn 5. Everyone seems to be drifting out of there. I love it. Some oversteer out of that corner. Yarovyi opts to go into the pits, even though he doesn't have any penalties or anything against him. Nico Zilidis still with his penalty from earlier, and because we have no mandatory pit stops, could be that 10 seconds will just be added on to his time at the end. So as long as he's 10 seconds ahead of Huben, he can hold on to that position, no problem. P4 for him then. Unless he can catch up to the rear end of the Cock and Ricroft and actually make the overtake, he'll then get ahead, and he can build a 10-second gap. He'll get that position as well. That'll then be a P3 finish for him. Michael Dieringer on the rear end of Cartwright now for P3. We just had Yarovyi pit from P4, so certainly these guys are fighting for some higher positions, or it might have been P3 actually. Yarovyi did manage to get past Cartwright, didn't he? So now it's going to be this battle for P3, the final podium position on the line between the 627 and the number 21. Tim Miro and Josh Redhead just swapping positions as well. That pro driver that pitted earlier managing to make some progress finally. He's come out just ahead. Well, I should say Yarovyi has come out just behind him. Oh, actually, no, he's still in the pits. We'll see how that turns out. These two down into turn 1, though. Nothing will happen this lap, I reckon. Keep it fairly clean. Harold the Cock finally managed to get past Tony Rucraft as well, down in P14. So, finally, Pro-Am got past I said the same word twice. Pro-Am gets past an Am. Finally, some interclass racing further down the grid. Dieringer and Cartwright, though, still a battle to keep an eye on. These guys are neck in neck. P3, it is the final podium position. What a place to finish if you are joining for your first race this season. That is Dieringer's situation at the moment up in the pro class. He hasn't attended a single race this season, but we have seen some great performances from this driver in the past. We've seen some good stuff from him. Nathan Cartwright, though, up in P7. He's in the middle of a huge battle here, potentially even getting him up into P3 in the Drivers' Championship. At the moment, it is still Mikael Topinka in the lead with 40 points, but his closest rivals are Gabriel Nibter, Kurt Peters, Colin McNair, Tim Miro, and Roman Hosko, and Marius Sapanidas actually, all within a point or two. So it's some great, some close racing up in the championship standings overall, and he'll be making sure to maximise every point he can get. For Dieringer, though, he's got a long way to catch up, because he is on 0 points at the moment, and the next driver is on 17, and that's going to be Yarovyi, who managed to make such a decent run last week. So Cartwright will have a decent haul of points. That'll probably put him ahead of his rivals, except for Nipta, who is still going to be ahead. Gabriel Nipta on 33 points and Nathan Cartwright on 31, so that'll mean it'll be 34 and 32. Here we go, though, through the turn 1 of Aspar we go. Mid-corner, yep, Ferrari just lost it, and we now have a new P3 driver. New driver joins the podium, finishes at this point in the race. 18 minutes to go. Can he start working on the gap to Vasiliadis and maybe even the gap to Nipta and start fighting for P2? Imagine that, P2 finish on your debut race this season. That will be great stuff, but I'm sure he's happy with it as is right now. Cartwright in the meantime just says, cool, okay, whatever, take it, and then, let's just roll with it, see how it goes. Everyone else then still fairly well spaced out. Nothing really to look at the moment in terms of on-track action. Easel saying the commentator curse is real. Oh yeah, I think I did a really good commentator curse last week. I can't remember what it was. I rewatch these things, and then my memory just goes, oh well, out the window your memory goes. I do apologise if you hear an alarm. That is out of my control. Give me 1 second. So then, your grid for this evening then so far, 18 cars remain. We were talking about this earlier. Esel, earlier you were saying how many cars will we have left? Well, we have 18. We have 5 cars that left, which is, ironically, I think, the amount of cars that left last week in the Le Mans Ultimate race. We had 5 cars retire from the race. We had, how many was it? 2 hypercars and 3 LMGT3s. So we had 9 LMGT3s start the race, went down to 6. We had 5 hypercars start the race. Did we have 5? It might have been 6, and we had 2 retirements. That was Samuel and... No, it might have just been 1 hypercar actually. So then it would have been 4 retirements. It was close. It's similar numbers. So I guess from now on, we know 4 or 5 retirements are due every race, and so we go. Still 16 minutes to go. Maybe we will have. I've just properly mumbled that. Esau saying still 16 minutes to go. Maybe we will have less potentially, but considering that everyone's spaced out and conditions haven't really changed, I mean, you could bring in the factor of worn tyres, potentially even worn brake pads, since I'm sure many of these drivers will be running pad ones. That could play into that, yes. But yeah, there's not really much that could play in here. We could see some more action prompted by some drive-throughs. I'm sure a lot of drivers are on their final track limit warning. Not quite sure who that would be though. I wish we could have little counters to see who has got track limits cuts. I'm sure there has to be a way to do it. I'm sure there is some sort of software that will allow me to see it. But I am not in possession of such software at this point in time. So a summary then of your current standings then. Or are we still saying magic of racing? Yeah, I mean we did have that last week, didn't we? Gambling on how many cars and cones we will have left, and then all the action kicked off for the race lead. That was amazing to watch, by the way. I wish we had it. I wish we had some shorts on that, because that battle was absolutely massive. Anyways, back to the standings then. Michael Topinka in P1, leading the race by a margin of 8 seconds to Gabriel Nibta in the Bentley. It's then George Vasiliadis, who's P3 overall, doing really well tonight, currently taking a race win, and seems to be on course for him at the moment. It's on the cards. He's currently P1 for his class. Diriga rounding out your podium positions for the Pro class. Meanwhile, Mumtaz and Sakura round out your Pro-Am podium. And then you've got Leek and Stephen, Brum and Rucroft, your 3 podium finishes at this point in time. However, we've seen all sorts of things happen this race and in other races. And of course, Malott has got some new tyres on, 10 seconds off of Zilidis, who's still on old tyres. We could see something happen here potentially, but it's 14 minutes to go and a 10-second gap to make up. Yeah, it's not quite going to be easy per se to get up there. In terms of the Pro-Am Championship standings then, Vasiliadis is going to make some good progress tonight. He's on 34 points, tied with 2 other drivers, P4 place Nicolas Mumtaz and P6 Guido Martinez. So we'll get ahead of Mumtaz this time, get 1 more point, and that will put him ahead. Martinez is the police car, who we've seen some good stuff from him as well. It's been quite entertaining this season. He's gonna lose out because of tonight's race. And who else is doing well tonight? Stein van Onneker. No, he's not out tonight. Oh, the Cook, Redhead. We have got Campadix, but he did also retire from the session. Oh, the Cook, yeah, pretty much the only one to then make some good ground. Josh Redhead as well. If he can get some good points on the board tonight, he will maybe then start fighting with some of the other drivers up at the top 10 for the Pro-Am class. At number 67, though, stationary on the exit of turn 14. That's going to be Nico Zilidis, the number 67 on the final corner. Let's see what's happened here. 30-second replay. So yeah, you weren't wrong, Esau. Magic of racing. Here we go. So through the left-hander, and maybe just stepped on the accelerator a little bit too much, and has gone round into the gravel trap. The magic of traction control, eh? The magic of the absence of traction control, shall I say. Or just the magic of we'll start with all the magic references. Nikolidis into the pits, so I assume that's his race over. Not quite ready to contend with being essentially dead last and having a damaged car. Yeah, a bit sad for him, really. In the meantime, Nicholas Mumta is 1.5 seconds off Nathan Cartwright. In fact, his fastest lap is 3/10 faster than Cartwright, so 134.5 from Cartwright. Oh, that's very interesting. And actually, looking at the best lap times from everyone, actually, Carl Domingo 132.4, Gabriel Nipton 2/10 off that lap time as well. It's then 4/10 to George Vasiliadis, so 133, 133.4 from Mikael De Ringa. We've got Nathan Cartwright on 134.5. Some interesting lap times there. Some very, very interesting lap times. Oh my goodness, and Harold the Cock has got to drive through. Just noticed that. Yep, track limits time. He's been hit by it. You can also see here Mumtaz with Huben in the background. We also, I was going to say that was Waller Johnson, but unfortunately, yep, Johnson not able to finish the race tonight, and it has been a tough one for him. He's had all sorts of issues. Spatial awareness, mostly. Spatial awareness related, maybe. Harold the Cockhoff in the background. Stop and go 30. That was probably because he turned off his pit limiter too quickly or sped in the pit lane, and now he has to go back in again. I will be surprised if he continues racing tonight. He is still going though, so good on you, mate. Good sportsmanship on display from that driver. But yeah, Nathan Cartwright struggling. Here comes Mumtas, the P2 placed Pro-Am driver, about to overtake a pro. So Cartwright is just struggling tonight. Maybe it's just not his circuit. Maybe it's just not his track, even though he isn't in that Ferrari, which, you know, in my mind, the speed of some of these corners is great for a Ferrari because you've got all that downforce, you've got all that aero. Yeah, yeah, speeding in the pit, I agree, yeah. That's, it is always super annoying. It's the worst feeling when you've been holding on to that final track limit warning, that final track cut, and then boom, it just happens, drive through, gutter, and then you speed in the pit lane, something happens there. And it could be as stupid as, for me, it was as stupid as accidentally turning off my pit limiter instead of turning on my pit options, which is what I was looking at. Now I wanted to adjust something on you know, for the next pit stop while I was still in the pit lane. Bad idea, because that button is right next to my pit limiter. Accidentally turned off my pit limiter, and hey ho, I get a stop and go 30 after drive through as well. Yeah, it's just the most annoying feeling. Just overcooking the pit entry possibly too. Yes, that is possible. It can be quite a tight pit entry, to be fair. I found if you just keep it in a straight line and you brake just before the orange barriers on the left hand side, you can just about get the car stopped, or get it down to pit lane speed, even in the wet. That is amazing how it works. But the thing is, yeah, if you leave that braking just a tad too late, yeah, you're going to be speeding in the pit lane. So maybe that did happen. Maybe the pressure is getting to him. Maybe fatigue is getting to him as well. All of these factors could be playing a role. The Cock, yeah, not the best of evenings, but he's still out on track, still racing. Not at this point in time. He's still in the pit lane. But at the same time, you can say, you know, drivers still in the pit lane are still racing. You know, there's always something to be said for everyone, pretty much. Let's see, stop and go just cleared. Yeah, he's still racing. Good stuff from the number 292. Good stuff on you for just continuing all that perseverance. Good stuff, mate. Yeah, the number 67 had an accident, apparently. Same as Waller Johnson, the number 99. Let's see. Well, we'll have to wait and see after Mumtas makes his move on Cartwright. Cartwright on the centre of the track trying to defend. Is going to be a similar thing that we saw earlier. No, actually, Mumtas having to go around the outside. Still there. Into turn 2 we go. And we've actually got Alexis also getting involved. Huben trying to stay out the way as these guys fight for higher positions. Huben is that Alexis, the number 1 down in P15. He was leading the race at some point, but unfortunately, I think he must have pitted from the lead, or something must have happened. Some sort of incident. I don't see it on my incident list, or kind of the list of contacts, the list of crashes or whatever. So at the moment then, Leek and Stephen leads the AM class with Brum and Rucroft P2 and P3, who've been denoted down into the P4 position. So yeah, it was him and Malott that pitted, wasn't it? It wasn't Brum. So that will explain it. Okay, let's have a quick look then here. Oh no, this was just that incident earlier between Willa Johnson, the Bentleys and Rucroft. I probably said the same name twice there, but that's probably because I'm quite tired as well. Yeah, just straight into the wall. Yeah, there's yeah, tough incident. That's the tricky thing about this. You don't quite know which incidents you've already looked at or not. 292 cleared, yellow flag. Whew! I do apologise for the yawning. Yes, a lot of the time it is just purely down to human fatigue, nothing to do with fatigue caused by the race, because I mean it can, you go from a really high to a somewhat low, that does then hit you harder. We've got the battle forming here though, that should hopefully keep us all wide awake. Nathan Cartwright at the front of a four-way train, with Nicholas Mumtaz behind. Aracon Sakura also coming through there, and Tamiro catching up as well. This could be true multi-class racing. 2 pros sandwiching 2 pro-ams. Could be interesting. Could see plenty of flashing from the pros, thinking they can just take those track positions. Well, it's track position. It's not. It might not be class position. If you're in a different class, well, screw you, because I've got a race to run. I also got to catch up to the guy ahead, and that is Akira's mindset here as well. P2 on the cards for him. That Aston Martin driver looking for another position in Mumtaz. So it could be that Cartwright has been slowing the number 18. As a result, he's now come to within striking distance of Sakura. Final 5 minutes of frantic racing here in the mid-class could prove very, very eventful. Could also prove fatal, as the BMW behind proves. I think that's actually Leek and Stephen. No, that's Tim Miro. Sorry, there's so many BMW DSRT cars. Tim Miro, easy position made for him. I'm used to seeing Miro in an Aston Martin. That's why I was kind of confused. Used to saying it's fine, mates. Don't worry. Friday evening after a long week. Oh yes, a long week indeed. And Tim Miro immediately on the inside, immediately on the attack, on the inside of Nicholas Mumtaz. Through turn 3 we go, and Mumtaz has conceded that position, but now he's on a good defensive line into that right-hander. And for a second there I thought he would go straight into the rear end of the second BMW. Good spatial awareness by Mumtaz. Does leave some space on the inside, but he did manage to also, well actually no, he closed that window because he knew it wasn't going to be there. The Aston Martin wasn't going to be on the inside, so good spatial awareness there. Actually, also just remember that 10 seconds is going to play a role here as well. That will demote him much further down the grid. So actually, Nicholas Mumtaz just needs to keep it close here on the rear end of Mumtaz, and he'll take P2 for sure. In the meantime, we can see Tamiro also on the rear end of Cartwright. Can he have more luck on that Ferrari? He's been holding up the cars behind for a really long time. Now, I'd also want to see where Redhead is. P10 for him at the moment, so whether he can grab that final podium position. He is quite a ways off. Currently P10 for him. Sakura is P8. That's a long ways away, and Miro did manage to make his way past Cartwright. I do want to have a look at the replay though, but we've got some action here. 30 seconds back. Yeah, let's see how they got it. This has been an overtake waiting to happen for a really long time. Through the kink we go. Was it up on the curbs? No, just really slow through there. The BMW forced to go around the outside. Some evasive action, and then just hangs it in there. Under braking, I'm sure. Lurches ahead. No, actually still there. And it was a cutback. Lovely stuff from the BMW. Easy position made for Cartwright. You'd imagine that position would go a bit harder after all the trouble that the 627 has been causing everyone else. But no hands thrown yet. Aracon Sakura still up on the rear end of that BMW though, still putting pressure on him. If he fights with Mumtaz here, and slows Mumtaz significantly. That could bring Redhead into the equation. He's 6.5 seconds off Yarovyi though. That's going to be 16 seconds. He still needs to gain another 6 or 7 seconds. It's going to be a collision between these two really that will bring Redhead to within that 10-second gap. All side by side though, Sakura around the outside. Oh, very tricky position on the track to make an overtake. Can he get a good run out of this corner though? He does. It's going to be really tricky to get alongside into that right-hander. Mumtaz knows he's going to come past at some point though. Traffic, will that play a factor as well? We've got Rucroft there playing a role in this race here, and actually Mumtaz says, screw this, I'm just going to let you by. Boom. He wasn't going to win it anyways, and through goes Sakura. P2 for him, but the question is, where is Mumtaz? Mumtaz moving slowly, so Mumtaz actually coming straight into the pit, so he has essentially then given up P2 and then probably P3. Any chance at a podium finish here shattered as he pulls into the pits now. So Josh Redhead then promoted up into the final podium position. The number 9 finally taking P3 in the Pro-Am class. Some good stuff from him, and now we come across the line for the final lap of the race. Mikhail Topinka, really quiet night so far. He's just had a great start. It was great seeing that battle right at the beginning of this race, and then Gabriel Nibter, yeah, just not quite managing to keep pace. That 0.3 per lap difference, yeah, that's going to be it's going to be tricky. Gabriel Nibter P2 then, and George Vasiliadis P1 for his Class P3 overall. Deeringer taking a podium on his first showing this season. George Vasiliadis also on a first tonight. This will be his first race win of the season. He had a podium last week at Brands Hatch, and before we've seen some good stuff from Vasiliadis, and it will finally be time to see him do well again, I guess. You know, I was thinking of a way to say it differently, and it came out very weirdly. And then meanwhile, Leek and Steven on the AM side of things, you know, good points for him. So Leek and Steven exactly where he needs to be. P1 finish for him, baby. He takes his first race win of the season as well, if things all stay the same. Topinka now into the final, no, sorry, that's not it. Yes, Topinka now through the final corner of the circuit, down the main straight, and Mikhail Topinka has done it once again. Third race win of the season, round 4, won by the number 404 once more. Topinka the dominator indeed, taking the race win here at Valencia. Gabriel Nibter P2 for him as he comes across the line, and actually George Vasiliadis will be the next to come across the line. Some good stuff from the Pro-Am driver. As we've said, first race win of the season. This will definitely give him an edge over the other cars in his class, such as Mumtaz, who has actually dropped massively compared to the rest of them. And then Mikhail Deeringer currently still hashing it out with some back markers through turns 10, 11 and now turn 12, and he's done really well this race. First time back in a long while, and he's right up back in there. Meanwhile, Sakura and Redhead are also making their way around. Redhead taking a very late podium finish. Really good stuff from him as well. Just hanging on in there. That got him a podium. And there we go. Deeringer, first podium of the season. All wrapped up. First round of the season. All wrapped up. Tamiro will be the next to come across the line then. And on the AM side of things, Leek and Steven, who's still going around the circuit. Race win for him. First race win of the season as well. Some good stuff for the number 25. And he will finally start fighting for that P1 position, putting some pressure on Carl Banning in the championship standings. Nick Brum comes across the line in P2 with Johan Huben in P3. Some good finishes for all of the mentioned drivers. And that concludes then our round 4 race of the championship. We are now officially halfway through the season, and the standings are looking spicy. We're going to have some lovely racing over in round 5 in 2 weeks. Remember, we do have Le Mans Ultimate on next week as opposed to the ACC race, which should make for some good entertainment. It's going to be Misano for round 5. That's going to be over in Italy, not too far away from here. That track should also provide some good side-by-side action. Plenty of overtaking opportunities for all of our drivers, really. So then, that concludes round 4. Join us next week for some LMU and the week thereafter for the next round of the ACC Championship. It's been Yanis Mayer. This has been round 4, and I'll see you guys next week. Good night.